Good evening, everyone. Another beautiful day in the Wesley Guild. Today, as we look at culture, identity, heritage. Of the recent years, the question of who we are and where we're coming from, and our roots, and the correct identifications of where we fall into place in the entire system of our country and in different tribes has been in question. In a quest to understand who we are and where we're coming from, having been colonized for so long and got grouped as one people when we actually have our different houses and different tribes within the African system, or rather in our own indigenous way of identification. Today, we are looking at the history of AmaBhaca, and I am honored to be hosting the conversation. My name is Isasi Pinkosi Mdingi, ndiyintombi yasemajwarheni ugomkhafemandla navelengisinda kosobeko. Ndiyazalwa ke pha kozikhalo Jojo Tiega. And today, as we engage, I would like us to be respectful, be sensitive in our differences. And without taking my time, I would like to welcome our guest today. And firstly, I want to thank you on behalf of the Wesley Guild SA and the Methodist Church of Southern Africa for taking your time and come and share the information with us today. And today we have Ubut Nkoskona Zulu, Sis Kolosa Dabula, and Ubut Andile Shangase, who would later join us with some technicalities. And ndicela namkela kweli khasi lonxibelelwano namhlanje, ndiqale kweBut Zulu, ndizawucela nje uzichaze kancinci ubulise nakubaphulaphula ekhaya.
Ngiyabonga kakhulu ithuba. Igama lami nginguNkosikhona kwaZulu njengoba sowushilo. Ngisuka eXobe elimantende. Exobe elimantende liqanjwe inkosi uShaka emkhankasweni wokusukela inkosi uMadzikane mayifika khona yaseyithi simsukelile saze safika endaweni othi mawuhamba kuyo ithi Xobo imantende, kwase kuthiwa ke iXobe elimantende, njengana namhlanje kuthiwa iXobe elimantende.
Inkosi kakhulu but Sisikholesa ndicela unikezela kuwe undibulisele bahlaleni and uzasise uba ngubani. Inkosi.
Inkosi, Saniyana bantu bakuthi lo bhobhako uKholosa uBadabula Mbonzi, formerly known as Mount Frere, suka kwisigodi sakembodleni kwaChali kwaBhokhonophawu team eTukwentaba. I'm very honored to be here. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. I must acknowledge firstly that I didn't know AmaBhaca mostly differently from AmaXhosa. It was my own ignorance. I assumed that as we started, as there was a conversation behind the scene, then I was like, oh my word, how am I going to engage this conversation? But thank you very much for taking your time. This is going to definitely be a learning curve for me. And I think it's going to be a learning curve for a lot of people, starting with language first. Because we'll easily assume that you'll be speaking isiXhosa in the way that I'm speaking. Zulu, I would like to start with you just to help us take us through the brief history of AmaBhaca from your perspective. Thank you.
AmaBhaca ayisizwe esizimele nje ngeleqe. Isizwe lesi esaqalwa inkosi uGobiswana, okwahamba isikhashana wagcina sebizwa ngokuthi unkosi uMadzikane, ngenxa yokuthi wayethi udzikadzika izizwe zakwaZulu zize zimbalekele. Ekusukeni kwakhe wasuka phezulu oPhongolo, lapho ayihlala khona emzini kayise uKhalimeshe, wehla njalo waze wazofika kule ndawo ebizwa ngokuthi kuseMaritzburg namhlanje. Ngalezo zikhathi yayibizwa ngokuthi kusemsongunyathi, edlule koSibubulungu, wayifika elokhuzeni eSibubulungu, kwakukhona omunye umuzi kayise obizwa ngokuthi kukwageza ubuso, umuzi kaKhalimeshe. Waqoqa uzalo lukaKhalimeshe lukaLufulwenja owushe njalo njalo waze wazofika eMsongonyathi, wakhuphuka eLunzini ekhuphukela eBhulwa namhlanje, la afike washiya khona induna yakhe uNtshibhela. Waqhubeka njalo waya eNtsikeni, wafika kwakhe umuzi waseMthunzini. Wabuye wasuka-ke waya ngaseMzimkhulu eMfuleni, la kunedolobha namhlanje elibizwa ngokuthi uMzimkhulu. Nakhona wafike wawakha umuzi owabizwa ngokuthi kusemzini omkhulu. Behluleka-ke abelungu ukuthi umuzi omkhulu, bathi Mzimkhulu. Waphinde wawelela phesheya waze wayofika emzini wezimvubu. Kahle kahle umuzi wezimvubu leli gama lethiwa inkosi uShaka, ngoba lathi inkosi uShaka seyifica inkosi uMadzikane yase ithi-ke ngeke ngisakugwaza ngaleli qhwa, kepha ngizolihlaba kulo mfula ukuze kuphume iquba. Kanti inkosi uShaka izothi mayihlaba iqhwa kulo mfula bese kugwazeka imvubu. Yase ithi inkosi uShaka kanti umuzi wezimvubu lo, kwase kuthiwa-ke umuzi wezimvubu lo womfula. AmaBhaca-ke agcwele ilizwe lonke leli, angeke sisho ukuthi agcwele la kuleli kaMthaniya kuphela, kepha akhona yonke indawo. Uyewabona ngokuthi abhobhe uma ekhuluma, uyewabona ngokuthi ebusweni adebeze akhase. Ake ngime lapho.
Thank you so much, Bidi. Just for I'll capture, I'll just summarize a bit. Bengicela ukuthi ungibizele inkosi again igama layo.
Inkosi ewumbumbi wesizwe samaBhaca uMadzikane. Elokudabuka, elokuqanjwa uKhalimeshe.
Elokuqanjwa ngu?
Elokuqanjwa uyise uKhalimeshe uGobiswana. Waseshintsha-ke ngoba phela uma umZulu uye kushintshe ubizwe ube nezibongo, wase kuthiwa uMadzikane odzikadzika izizwe zakwaZulu zambalekela.
Enkosi kakhulu Budi. For the viewers at home who don't necessarily understand isiBhaca, or rather even have an understanding of a bit of isiXhosa, what Nkosinathi has taken us through was the history of their king, King Madzikane, who has migrated in different parts of the side of KwaZulu-Natal, or rather what you would term as KZN, where one of the places he had migrated and also lived in was Mzimkhulu, which is, in the translation of isiXhosa would have been a big house, but because white people could not call umuzi omkhulu, or the big house, then they called it Mzimkhulu, and he then went further to migrate to the side of Pietermaritzburg. That's just a brief of how AmaBhaca have came about. It was this amazing king was moving on different parts, and you would say to a certain extent it was almost the conquering of different parts of the side of KZN. And today we have a AmaBhaca as part of our country. Sis Kolosa, I'm gonna come onto your side to share the brief.
Sorry, hi.
Hi.
I didn't get that. I'm sorry. I have network problems.
Oh, okay. No, I was saying of the history of AmaBhaca, is there something that you would like to add on what Nkosinathi has said?
Not much on what he has said. The part I will talk about is AmaBhaca till date, which will affect the migration that was affected by the migration, the apartheid, and what is happening to the youth today, abang AmaBhaca. And some of them, they do not even know ukuthi AmaBhaca. So this I talk from experience, kuba ukufunza kwami isiBhaca bese ngimdala. I had to go out of my way ngikhambe ngiyofuna abantu ukuthi bangincwadzise isiBhaca because angikwazi ukubhobha language yami. So this had everything to do with the segregation of people And then it was something that said to me that apartheid, we have easily adopted it because we have ended up also grouping ourselves as sheep, that the Xhosa nation is in the Eastern Cape, the Zulu nation is in the KZN, and so forth, and all of that. The truth of the matter is, AmaBhaca have footprint in all over this country, and it's not by migration, it's not by locating for anything, it's by origin. From Mpumalanga to Engcobo, they are original Bhaca people that are there. So things like that you find out that a nation is separated or segregated into a lot of other nations, it is easily neglectable. Ngiyazama ukuthi ngibhobhe isingesi kuba AmaBhaca kancwadzile, so that abanye abantu abafuna ukuyadi lento engiyibhobhako batayadi kahle. Now, we are a nation of both youth, old people, and very successful people, and other people are actually celebrities that are neglected by everything around them. The Bhaca nation is a nation that is neglected by its own currencies and its own banks, its own municipalities in its own land, its own education system in its own schools. It does not, no child can comprehend that I've never heard this language, I've never heard of this, but you are coming to tell me that I am this. So this is something that we fight for. This is something that we want to get out there and educate people. Ukuthi i-nation yamaBhaca, i-nation kaGobuswane, i-nation kaMakhafulikwe ngomlomo is something that is there. Siyaphila, siyakhamba, siyancwadza. We are in the South Africa, and we are one of the oldest nations that are here. So I don't know if I added there or I went on a different route of my own.
Oh, you actually, because you highlighted something that when I first heard you speak, the first thing that came to mind was they speak like AmaSwati. So it makes sense to say it's across the nation. And I think you would correct me in that extent of AmaBhaca and AmaSwati almost speak similar language, or it's almost the same language.
You could say it's an almost similar language in certain syllables. Umele ngiyibhobhekele ndzaba so that abantu bangadideki. Mawutshena umuntu ukuthi ngilibhaca, there's this question engiyithatha kakhulu njengenhlamba ethi uphansi kwani, uphansi komXhosa, uphansi kwani, which is something that makes us now not want to identify or tell you that, okay, it's similar to this. Because abantu bafuna ukuthi AmaBhaca abe phansi of a certain nation. If I would make an example, if I say I'm an apple, I'm not an apple that's under an orange or a banana. I am an apple. So it's not going to make sense, which is both uneducation, not being educated, sorry, and being ill-educated and a part of ignorance. Because siyati ukuthi la eMzansi kune 11 official languages, but you know that there's more languages than that. Yes. So yes, kuneSwati esikhona, kodwa it's a language of its own. As Xhosa, there's some Zulu words that are related as Swati and as Pedi and Tswana and all the other languages zamangoni ala eMzansi and in the continent as a whole.
Thank you very much, Colosa, for clarifying that part, because I would have easily assumed that it's really a language of AmaSwati. And I think that is the most, the question you're talking about on how we want to group people and not give them the autonomy or a space to be an independent nation. Buzulu, I want to come to you on that question on how has being grouped as a part, as under or part of AmaXhosa has affected AmaBhaca in their growth or in terms of their culture, their history, as also Sis Kholosa mentions that a lot of young people and many other people do not necessarily know that AmaBhaca, or rather they cannot speak the language or even identify with the culture.
Thank you, Sis. Maybe if I can, oh, sorry. Angisho kanje. Ukusuka kwenkosi uGobiswana isuke yahamba ngendlela yaqala eSwatini. eSwatini hayi ukuthi kade iyo sizo khona noma iyothi noma iyohambisa abantu bayo khona. Kodwa ukuya khona bekukuyo kuyogoba amadlangala ukuze ikwazi ukuthatha amandla ngoba kwakunempi eyayikhona kwakufanele ukuthi bayilwe. Babefuna uqale baziqoqe kuqala. Mase bethe ukuhlala khona eSwatini base bebuye inkosi yamaSwati yathi ikwazi ukuhlala nesizwe esikhulu kangaka isizwe sikaKhalmeshe. Basuka ke eSwatini. Qaphela ukuthi njengoba besuka eSwatini sekukhona ukuthi ukukhuluma into eyela ngasemaswatini kancane ngoba sebeyijwayele impilo yakhona. Basuka khona base behamba belwa nalezi ezinye izizwe ke bekhukhulu nomphelo beze beyofika eduze nabaThembu namagcaleka namamfengu. Lokho kwaholela ekutheni ukukhuluma kuthathe kancane eSwatini, kuthathe futhi kancane esiXhoseni, bese kuphuma into eyodwa eyisibhaca ewukubhobha. Uqinisile uMakhalmeshe mayithi thina siyisizwe samaBhaca asisiso isizwe esingaphasi komuntu othile noma esixutshwe nesinye isizwe esithile kuze kuphume thina. Siyisizwe nje esizimele nje gelekeqeni. Njengamanje siyafisa ukuthi isibhaca kube ngempela ulimi olu official ongeza ukuba ulimi okungathi ulimi olunganakekile ngoba lokho kusilimaza kakhulu. Ngiye ngibuke mina sengathi izithukuthuku zenkosi uMadzikane ukubumba lesizwe esikhulu kangaka sizifela amathe sizinyathela ngezinyawo uma ngabe singakunaki umsebenzi wakhe omkhulu awenza.
Thank you very much, Puti. Just to the viewers again who don't necessarily understand the language, what he's trying to clarify is that yes, the king did go and live in Swaziland, but when he went there, it was because there was a war that they were preparing for. So he went there to gain some strength, and ultimately, because they've lived within the community, they took parts of the language, and which is common in many parts of our communities and our languages, because we're people who were migrating and living within each other. As Usis Kholosa mentioned, that even with Xhosa and Zulus, there are words that are almost similar. And then when he came back and coming all the way down between the Gcalekas, the Bathembus, there were obviously some fights they have to do, but when they got the site, then they picked parts of the language from the Bathembus and the Gcalekas, and in that regard, it came about with the language that is called isiBhaca. But also what he clarifies is that AmaBhaca are not under any house, I could say, within the Xhosa, as it's likely to be told. They are a separate house that is independent. So there's always that confusion of where do they fall. And this has also made almost a difficulty for the language to feature within the school curriculum, which is now, I would find it difficult to understand as why it has not been included, because it's definitely not the same as isiXhosa. It's a bit far which is an injustice for children growing up within those communities, being forced to learn isiXhosa when their languages is very different. Sis Kholosa, in terms, you had mentioned on the aspects of the colonial and apartheid era and how it is affected. and how you had to go in lands to try and learn the language yourself, which should have been your mother tongue language. How has the department, if you have any knowledge or in terms of your fights, in making sure that isiBhaca is recognized as a language, especially within the Eastern Cape aspects when it comes to learners and studying, and as we in the conversation of decolonization and the infusion of languages, what has been the conversation around having isiBhaca as also as part of the languages in terms of the school?
Thank you so much for Lombuto wako. If uke wangitwa ngongibhobha ngithi, unfortunately, apartheid, we have adopted it very much that it is easy for us to even classify ourselves as sheep. Our government works as provinces work, as sectors work, as wards work. So ubuti uge Eastern Cape, even though uge Eastern Cape Mbonzeni, a town that is called uKwaBhaca, and knowing very well that uBhaca is both a nation and it has a language of its own, but things like that are still not catered for till date. To my knowledge, there is nothing that has been done outside organizations, unions, and youth people trying to fight for this. There's nothing done by the government in any way. It's still the same education curriculum. When it comes to projects that have to do with the nation, there's nothing there. When it comes to the music, abantu bethu abombhaqanga, they are also neglected in festivals, in events that have to do with it, in a lot of things, there's nothing. Even when Heritage Day, kids have to narrate stories or talk about anything that has to do with heritage. If and then you just see that it's going to be hard to educate in the space. It's hard to educate in the space. Understandable. Our curriculum of education right now is like this. But should you embrace the land, you should embrace the people.
Can I add something?
I'll come to you, and thank you very much for joining us. Andile has now joined us in the conversation. I'll come to you just quickly. But Nkosinathi, I wanted to ask something, which is like us in the beginning. With the houses, within the House of Nations, that certain izibongo that are there, for example, within AmaXhosa, zeziphi izibongo eziphansi kwamabhaca, focusing within the Eastern Cape?
Thank you, Sisi, for that question. There is a lot of surnames ngaphansi kwesizwe samabhaca. Abantu bakwaZulu uyomuzwa ngokuthi abe uKhalimeshe, abe uVeyi baqhubeka yini. Kukhona oNzelu, kukhona abantu bakwaMbajwa, kukhona abantu bakwaDzanibe. Ngiyamkhumbula kakhulu kuDzanibe ngoba kwakundunankulu wenkosi uMathi. Kukhona abantu bakaSwela, oJekwa. Ikhona enye induna enkulu eyayumdidiyeli wempi wenkosi uMadzikane, uJekwa. Ziningi kakhulu. Kukhona abondimande ngapha kwaBhaca. Kukhona baningi abantu abakhona. Imvamisa uphawu olukhona kakhulu lwesibhaca uyombona ngokuthi ebusweni asikwe. Mhlawumbe ke ngithi fahla isizathu sokuthi sisikwe ebusweni. Kwaqale kwaba umkhuba lo, kwabuye kwashintsha ke kwaba yisiko. Ngesikhathi kusewumkhuba, inkosi uMadzikane yayithi ngoba ngakha isizwe sami esizimele, esinye isizwe esingasona esakwaZulu, esingasona esamaSwati, esingesiso esakwaXhosa noma esamaPondo. Bazosikwa ebusweni izihlanga ezinde nothi ezimfishane. Uma uqaphela ezethu thina AmaBhaca inde azimfishane njenga nalezi zamaSwati nezamaXhosa njalo njalo.
Again, to our viewers at home, explaining the different houses within the nation of AmaBhaca, but also he was highlighting that I'm not gonna have the meeting for if you realize AmaBhaca have the long which that one is and there's a long maybe that from the classes in the Zulus that also practice the same tradition base. So that is the explanation that we having, which is there has been a living for in our nation. And on the line today, also joined us briefly at home and give us a bit of who you are, and then we can continue the conversation.
Oh, okay, ngiyabingelela Nkosazana enhle, ngiqale ngibingelele kuwe, ngibingelele kubo bonke abantu ababukele nabalalele. Ngigama uAndile ngowakwaShangase khona eMzimkhulu. Ngiyaxolisa nje ukungena lithi bakithi i-network, ngikhuluma namanje ngime phandle, ayikho i-network endlini, ugesi awukho, i-load shedding. Ngiyaxolisa nje kakhulu ukungena indaba seyiphakathi. Yebo.
Thank you very much for making the effort. We all understand the current crisis that we have in the that would, if it's a separate tradition and the certain mention, it's fine. But just try and take us through as the stages of gets the patterns and what is the significance of having and
ngiyalimala i-network sisumbuza ngutholanga kahle.
So umbuzo what is the importance of having cats? What does it mean? In what stage of a person's life do they get to have the cuttings? But if you're unable to answer because of the network, ngizacela between scholars and Bunkosinathi to help us.
Ngizocela uzwa umbuzo awuthathe sisi, ngiyabona wena ukuthi uyakhomba ebusweni kodwa ngiyizwa.
Okay. Butzulu or Siskolosa. It seems the network is a problem on the side. Butzulu?
Yebo sis.
Okay. Oh, umbuzo wami but
no, ngalesa sikhathi ngithi kade kusana le nto ye network. Ngicela ukuthi uphinde.
Okay, but then city that is sacred within the nation. Can you please explain to us as to what is the importance of having the cuttings on the face, and at what stage of a person's life do they get to?
Nkosazana angazi kahle noma ngiyawuzwa yini umbuzo ngenxa yelokhuza ye-network. Kodwa uma ngaya ngokuthi nguzwa ngale ndlela engiyuzwa ngayo. Isizathu sokuthi basisike manje kwaqale kwaba umkhuba ngoba kwakade kudukisa umkhonto. Inkosi uMadzikane ifuna ukubumba isizwe. Uyazi ukuthi ke umkhuba ugcina sowuyisiko kuleso naleso sizwe. Kwagcina sekuyisiko ukuthi sesiyosika nje kanje unomphelo. Umuntu usikwa esemncane uma nje sekubonakala ukuthi ngesikhathi ingane isizelwe uyise eseyibonile ngoba phela akufanele ukuthi ayibone kusanesikhathi esithile. Izalukwazi ziyeke zisho ukuthi hayi ke ingane isizelwe ziqinisekisa ukuthi ngempela yababa lowo. Emva kwaloko uma ngabe seyizokwenzelwa imbeleko bese isikwa-ke ebusweni, emva kwaloko uyise useyenzela imbeleko. Kodwa nje kusho ukuthi ukusikwa isikwa ingane isencane isekuleli zinga lokuthi yakhelwe imbeleko.
Okay. So I was asking to the viewers, I was asking as to why the AmaBhaca are having the cuttings in the face. And Buzuri is explaining to me that when a child is born, there's a certain period that is waited for the child to be seen by the father, and the father would then confirm that the child is his. And while in preparation of doing imbeleko for the child, they first do the cuttings, and then the child will then be ready to have quite interesting also that this but to look at that, is that still the case? Because I understand the wife are living in one place, most likely to be. Is it still the case that the period is waited for before the father can see the child?
Network ithanda ukusishaya. In fact, it's not that the father is confirming that the child is his. Okuseqinisweni abadala izalukwazi eziye ziyibone ingane bese ziconfirma ukuthi ngempela iyababa. It's not that ubaba by himself uyahamba yoconfirm. Izalukwazi eziconfirmayo ukuthi hayi wesibani ingane yakho. And then mangabe seshilo kanjalo bese ubaba ekhipha igama ukuthi ke usibani igama laleyo ngane. Emva kwaloko kulindwa isikhathi esithile akuvele nje ubaba ahamba yoyibona ingane kanjalo. Kuye kulindwa isikhathi bese izalukwazi zizosho ukuthi hayi ke seyingenziwe imbeleko. Emva kwaloko ke isiyasikwa ke ebuseni siyadebezwa ke ukuthi kugcinwe isiko bese kuqala ukuthi kwenziwe imbeleko. Kona kangazi kahle ngoba angutholanga kahle omunye umbuzo ngenxa ukuthi inetwork ithanda ukulokhuza ukungasinikeza ithuba.
Oh, okay. No, the last part I was asking was, is it
Hey, uyongixolela sisi, angizwa nix. Le network nje angizwa.
Uqolo Makhalmesh, what she is trying to ask ukuqonda ngokuchaza ukuthetha ngakho ebusweni nebana kusayinto esenziwa na to this day. Xolo uyakhathisha kulana.
Ngiyabonga kakhulu bhuti.
Uyeva Khalmesh? Zulu.
Yebo bhuti.
Yebo.
Angitholanga umbuzo.
No, umbuzo bokuyi-follow-up question kwindaba yokuchaza ebusweni oba isekhona na imfuneko na okanye isaqhubeka na londo to this day and the importance yayo emabhacini to this day.
Oh yebo, ngiyawuzwa ke manje umbuzo. Kusaqhubeka nje kusenziwa. Nami ngenzile ebusweni izingane esiziphiwa uNkulunkulu siyasika ebusweni nazo ziyokwenza njalo nomphelo. Khumbula ukuthi isiko umkhuba sowaphenduka isiko. Isiko eselumgogodla wempilo okuyisekelo sethu. Uma sikuyeka lokho asazi ukuthi izithutha ziyothukuthela zisenze njani. Manje ke ngalawo mazi sisaqhubeka nokwenza lokho.
Ndiyabonga kakhulu. Isa, are you back? your mic.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Oh, okay. The network is really bad, even on my side. In
It is
difficult
very
times in this
bad.
country when it comes to load shedding and network. Thank you very much. I just wanted to check within our Facebook page if there are any questions or comments. And then, okay, there's a question on the chat that can you please, from Uredmi, can you guys tell us about imikhosi AmaBhaca? Sis Colosa, if you are available, may you please take the stage, or if not, Zulu, please help us.
Imikhosi yakwaBhaca ngizobala nje embalwa bese uMaZulu engenelela naye qhubeka. Sinomkhosi wokweshwama esibiza ukuthi thina umkhosi wengcube.
My still very bad.
Okay, Zulu will assist. Thank you very much, Sis Colosa. Zulu, please continue.
Sinomkhosi wengcube udume ngokuthi ke abanye bazi ukuthi umkhosi wokweshwama. Thina ngokwesibhaca sisuke senza ingcube. Lo mkhosi uba ngoMarch, sorry, uba ngenyanga kaNdasa. Uxolo, uba ngenyanga kaMarch. La kusuke sekulungiselelwa khona ukuthi kuzodliwa ukudla okusha. Siye senza ingcube umkhosi lowo. Emva kwaloko omunye umkhosi esinawo umkhosi okuhlolwa kweintombi. Ziyahlolwa intombi ngapha kithi kwaBhaca. Kanjalo nemikhosi nje yokwakhiwa kwesiqoqo la sisuke siqoqa khona insizwa sizihlalisa ndawonye kukhulunywa nazo ukuthi umuntu mangabe seyindoda uziphatha kanje ukuze bakhule babe amadoda akusasa.
Okay, and Zulu. There's another question for us on Facebook from Umtoko, who said, firstly, thank you so much for this opportunity for us to learn more ngesizwe sakithi. I would like to know
I'm not sure if umi emulo o mele phone okanye
No, actually, I'm going to read the question for you from Facebook, from Togo Skunyana Nobela. Thank you so much for this opportunity for us to learn more. I would like to know if there are any plans to preserve the culture and the language, because as we are scattered all over South Africa, singazithola singasakwazi ukubhobha. Njengami nje ngikhulele eThekwini ngazithola sengikhuluma isiZulu haqa.
Thank you so much, Boti. I hope I'm audible to everyone. Ngiyayati lento ipopago nathi isibhaca siyasifunza ngoku sesibadala. We have a platform ekuthiwa uhlangana bhaca, where you can acquaint yourself namabhaca from all over the country with some language lessons, history lessons, and just meeting people around naba lapho eKZN nabake Eastern Cape. We also have into ekuthiwa isikhumbuzo sekumkani yethu uMadzikane. We normally hold it in September. Kulo nyaka, it was on the 16th of September, Friday. Kulawo ke kuye kubhobwe ngehistory yamaBhaca in depth, and plans ukuthi sitawukwenta njani to move from point A to point B. Kulapho ke you get to learn about books ezibhaliwe AmaBhaca or upcoming books that are going to be written. That's where you get some archives about AmaBhaca or photocopies or papers that were presented in universities like the CUT and Joburg, UJ. So I think that's what I have as of now. Thank you.
Thank you very much, and sorry for that. I got cut off. The network is really bad on my side. It's getting bad, but thank you very much for that. I wanted to just continue. Sis Tobega has a comment. No, sorry, Sis Nomatemba has a comment on Facebook. Seems to me that AmaBhaca are actually scattering of Africa. I grew up in Highveld as the only Gamede surname being told Sibacile Lapa. I took it to mean my forefathers took infectile movements to the extreme. I'm just trying to check if there's further comments. There's Usipe. I grew up in Mthatha and there's okuncane ngamaBhaca. Ubaba wami kwaseMount Fair. Mina angingaze ndaye sendikhulile ndikhula isiXhoseni manje ndifisa ukwazi imvelaphi yami. Ndingumavitshela Madala Nkosi Songiwe. I just want to see if there's any question. That was the only one. It seems as though that there's also people who really want to learn more about their identity and culture. Sis Kolosa and also Budzulu, I want to understand what would be the responsibility of young people, because the older generation is already old, their time has really passed now, it's upon us as young people. What could be done by young people who are aware that AmaBhaca, but some know their history, some know they don't? What can be done to preserve the culture and educate one another in the process?
Thank you, kakhulu sisi. Kunale question yokuqala kasisi ebesithi bamtshene ukuthi babhacile. Ngitawucela nje uZulu ukuthi to dwell on this if he can. Sinenkinga enkulu kule terminology yamaBhaca. The original name of this nation is called AmaZelemu. Yes, the term AmaBhaca is being confused now with what they understand. Abanye bathi sasibhacile sibaleka inkosi ezithile, abanye babhobha ngezinye indaba, which is kind of the awareness that we would like to put out there to explain things like that. So now uZulu utoyibhobha ke lendaba ayandise. Ngifuna ukuya kule question that you asked about what we can do. Inkinga yethu enkulu, not as AmaBhaca kuphela, but as the youth of the country, is the platforms that we use and how we use them. As ngisisho ukuthi kune platform on Facebook ekuthiwa uhlangana Bhaca, where you can learn a lot about AmaBhaca, the history, activities in the pipeline, youth development, and everything that has to do with the organization. It's not just a group. The group is something that comes from an organization called Uhlangana Bhaca. So layer organization stretches throughout in all the areas and regions that have AmaBhaca. Ukuthi-ke asazi ukuthi how we are going to reach them, and some people do not even have the knowledge that they are AmaBhaca. In these platforms, we do try and share as much information as we can. Siyazama ukuthi sibhobhe ngabo wonke izinkinga esinazo, ne? We also have a platform egu TikTok. Siyati ukuthi manje ya TikTok So we do have a TikTok account. Inamakatanyana ethu netindlavini tethu tizijubisa nje etulu kunzima kabi. So we would like people to follow those groups and learn more about themselves.
All right, thank you very much, Ms. Kolosa. Kosnati? We also have Koskona. Hi, Koskona.
Sorry, ngisakhona mina uShangazi.
Okay, ungasinqeda nawe bhuti ucacisa nento Kolosa becela icaciswe. Seems that like the network is getting bad and bad. Sis Kolosa, there's a question here. Might have an answer. Can you please explain the relationship between AmaBhaca and Amaxesibe?
Okay, I'm going to try and get into now it comes to the initial conversation in part of the migration AmaBhaca, we came from not came from as in originally, but sikambile saye Swatini to get what we needed for the war. And then coming down, there's a couple of groups that we met. If usiyakumbula, Gudala Azania was not grouped. So you can get Zulu people in the region that is now Eastern Cape, you can get them in another region and so on and so forth. So even though I can't say the direct relationship, but the distance from Swaziland all the way to Engcobo, the town that is now Engcobo, we could have met a lot of people that could have influenced us in a lot of ways.
And the last question, because I think we've lost Ubud Ngoskona, and Ubud Angela, the network is very bad on his side. Ukebashe is asking, there's what is called eating romich, ukufukush.
Ukufukuta.
I'm trying to read it in the class so that I understand it, but it doesn't make sense because of how of the THSA. He's asking for an explanation on that.
Oh, ngicela ukuyingena Nkosazana sengikhona.
Very much, Nkosazana.
Ngicela ukuqala lapha kule umakhalimeshe angifizile ukusikhumbuza ukuthi sithi ukukhuluma ngayo. Indaba yaleli gama, the term Bhaca. In fact, this term Bhaca isuse umsindo omkhulu. Eminyakeni eminingi edlule emva kokuthi inkosi uMadzikane isikhotheme, indoda yakwaBhaca kwakubiza ukuthi lingashoni ilanga, ingaqhwabanga umuntu ngempama, ngenxa yokuthi abantu babedzelela bethi ningamabhaca nina. So this term ethi iBhaca, it's an insult in fact, because the King Shaka, when he arrives at there by Umzimkhulu, he's saying, okay, nibhacela. He was insulting them. So to them, bafila sengathi bayathukwa if he is saying amabhaca. That's the first thing. So bonke abantu ke mangabe bewedzelela ke bathi amabhaca. So igama la ngempela lalesi sizwe amazelemo njengoba umakhalimeshe esho. Bese ngidlulela kulombuzo wokufukutha. Ukufukutha ukuthatha inyama nje ukuthi nje kuhlinzwa inkomo, kukhishwa inyama ebovu, igcopho ibhuqwe kusawoti, idliwe injalo. Kuqale lokhu phezu kwentaba inunge eyaphenduka yaba insizwa. Abantu bakwaZulu ngokwesibongo ngaphasi kwenkosi uShaka, ngoba babemthanda uMadzikane ngenxa yokuthi wabe eyiqhawe elikhulu elilwayo, enabantu abalwayo ngendlela emangalisayo. Uthe mayesehambile kwaZulu, bamsukela bamfuna nje isikhathi eside kakhulu, kangangokuthi inkosi uShaka ngesikhathi isemkhankasweni wokumlandela ifike ngaseXhobo, yahlala phezu kwelitshe, yase yenza ubulawo, yambona uMadzikane esemzimvubu yase ithi nangiya uGobiswane phela mina nginamehlo okhozi. Kwase kuthiwa ke igama laleyo ndawo ihlolokhozi. Behluleka kabelungu ukuthi ihlolokhozi bathi Hlokhozi. Uma esemfica ke uMadzikane, oh sorry, engakamfici aphinde emuva kanti uzothumela abantu ukuthi abamlandele uMadzikane ngoba usembonile. Kuzofike kuliweke entabeni insizwa. Ngesikhathi kuliwa khona inkosi uMadzikane yenza ubulawo, yenza ubuhlakani bayo, yakhafula ilokhuza izulu ukuthi alikhithike. Lakhithika kulolu hlangothi labakwaZulu, bagodola-ke abakwaZulu. Uma sekubanda aliphehleki kuzwathi ukuthi kukwazi ukuthi kubaseke phela kusiba inyama kudliwe. AmaBhaca vele ayibulala injalo ayidle, kwathi ukufukutha lokho. Unomphelo-ke kwaqala kwawumkhuba, lokho kwawumkhuba unomphelo, kwagcina kuyinto esiyenzayo-ke onanamhlanje leyo yokufukutha. Kahle kahle AmaBhaca mangabe efukutha asuke ekhumbula ukuthi anenkosi uMadzikane eyaqala lo mkhuba wokulokhuza wokufukutha, ukuphendula lowo mbuzo.
Thank you very much, Nkosikhona, which is an interesting history. Is there by any chance a desire, or have there been any attempts to change the name back to the original name of AmaBhaca?
For me, for uMaZulu, for everybody abangaphasi kwalesi sizwe samaBhaca, we wish ukuthi one day lishintshe leli gama singasabizwa ngokuthi samaBhaca, sibizwe kodwa ngokuthi singamaZelemu, ngoba kahle kahle sasekade singamaZelemu. Ukuthi amaZelemu lokhu mhlambe ngithi ukuchaza kancane. Inkosi endala uLufu Lwenja ibe namadodana amabili, uShe kanye noZelemu. Kwase kwaba uZelemu obathina siphuma okhalweni lukaZelemu wonke umuntu. Kwabekwa yena futhi ukuthi akabe umholi walesi sizwe. Awaseke uyazi-ke inkosi mangabe ibekiwe kiyeke ishintshe ithi hayi lesi sizwe isiqamba igama nelembe lathi sekuyini sekuwamaZulu wonke abantu. Nonkosi inkulu wathi isibongo akube abantu bakwaZulu, uyabona. So naye kuZelemu-ke ngapha wathi akube amaZelemu. Sase siba ngamaZelemu. Sase sithola le nhlamba-ke emzimkhulu yokuthi singamaBhaca from ilembe.
Thank you very much, Buti, for explaining that. To our viewers at home, I'm just going to read the last comments and then we're going to close. It's been a difficult day when it comes to our network. Just a comment from Ayanda. Guys, I have always had a dream of us AmaBhaca having a radio station here to give you a is happening or not. Ayanda from Mountford Basin, East London. Uzimasile Zulu igama elithi Bhaca lisuke ekutheni uMadzikane ubuye eSwatini echathile kwathiwa ubuye ebhacile ebusweni. I think that's a question. But Nkosikhona?
Uma kuya ngokuthi it's a question, ngizophendula ngokuthi ukubhaca ukucasha. Umuntu mangabe umehlulile bese ecashe uyeke uthi ubhacile. Namanje nje mawungabuza abantu bakwaZulu bayokutshela ukuthi ukubhaca ucasha. Kusho ukuthi
I think Andile is asking to answer the question, but can you please first finish with Zulu, then put Andile, I'll come to you. You can go ahead. Nkosikhona?
Uma ecashile kwase kuba-ke kusho ukubhaca. Yebo omunye angasho athi inkosi uMadzikane ngesikhathi ebuye eSwazini kwathiwa ubhacile. Ewe phela uma ebuye ebhacile kusho ukuthi ubuye esecashile. Kusho ukuthi wayesho kona lokho kusho yilembe. Esikuthatha ngokuthi thina that was an insult because we are the Zelems.
Okay. Enkosi kakhulu Buti. But Andile, ngicela ungenelele. Hi, Andile. Okay, it seems like we've lost him again. There's another question which starts with thank you for answering me about preservation and of the culture, can I ask one more question? Are there any plans to ask the government? Okay,
hello.
Okay, the question, can I ask one more question? Are there any plans to ask the government to recognize our king as Isilo Samabaca?
Thank you for Lombutolo. That is not even a question. AmaBhaca, we are not asking for recognition. We are recognized. We have a Royal Council, AmaBhaca. We have a town that is named after us. We are recognized. The chiefs, everyone. So our main issue right now is that itinto etidibanisa the municipality or any external powers that will require us to wait, they delay. So that is our only issue right now. They delay. That's why we need as many numbers as possible to press, because the government way to only understand the language of violence. I am sorry to say this, but that's the truth. That's why electricity and whatnot, but he won't understand until there's a strike on the street and things are burning. So siyacela the youth, please let us come together and push the narrative, push the numbers in the group, so that if need be, we will march to Pretoria and it can happen the same day.
Thank you very much. There's a question on the chat. I hope I'm gonna ask this correctly. Zulu, I think it's Ndiput. Oh my word. So scholars, are you able to access the chat?
Yes,
Let me
yes,
see.
you can.
Okay.
Yes, you can. You can.
Please, scholars, read out for us.
Now I am having problems. Where do I go?
If you are using Apple more, and then there's chat.
Okay. Okay, I think I see it. Zulu ndibutile inkosi yeBhatha, I think yeBhaca. Isikhumba seyiphi isilo? Ngicela ubutilo obhale lokhu.
Uthi lo mbuto lona manducacise, inkosi yembatha isikhumba sesiphi isilo?
Thank you very much, Budisbu. But Zulu, please assist us.
Ake ngiyibeke kanje. Inkosi zakwaBhaca uma amanye amasiko azo ziwagcina ngendlela efanayo nagcinwa enhlanezwe kwaZulu, ngoba inkosi uMadzikane ayishintshanga zonke izinto ngesikhathi ibumba isizwe sayo. Izinkosi eziningi zakwaBhaca bezivunula ngengwe, ukusukela nje ngoba kuwukuthi abantwana vele bakwaZulu babevunula ngengwe, cisho from the royal house bavunula ngengwe. Azange azakuguquleka ezinye izinto eziningi ezinjenganalezo. Bese kuye-ke ngokuthi-ke phela inkosi ngokuthanda bese ishaya umthetho ukuthi sengicela ukuthi kusukela manje kuvunulwe kanje. Kufana namashoba. Angithi ezinye inkosi zakwaBhaca ziye zithi inkosi nenkosi efanele abe yishagalombili amashoba emzimbeni wenkosi waleyo naleyo nkosi. Bese ngizama ukusho nje ukuthi kunako ukuba nomehluko lapha nalaphaya.
Okay, thank you very much, Puti. I think this is our last question that we'll have. Usis Bulela says, I didn't get the answer about the relationship between AmaXesibe and AmaBhaca. It could have been an issues of network. But Zulu, if you would try and attempt on that last question.
Hayi ngeke sinabo ubuhlobo namaXesibe isizwe samaBhaca. Isizwe samaBhaca siyisizwe esizimele. UmaZulu ke washo naye ngasekuqaleni. Ngeke sibe nabo ubuhlobo ngaphandle ke kokuthi ke babe osibali ke mhlawumbe singasho njalo.
Okay.
Makuya ngokuthi.
Ngicela ukuncedisa abawuZulu ne.
Yebo.
Yebo Zulu. Ndikuncedise nje kule ndaba yamaXesibe. Njengoba utsho unyanisile abukho ubuhlobo ekhathi kwamaBhaca namaXesibe ngokwemvelaphi uyabona kodwa kukwekheka ekufikeni kwamaBhaca kule ndzawo le okuthiwa iMonfrere adibana abambisana namaXesibe uyabona amaXesibe angena ngaphasi kwamaBhaca not wonke amaXesibe kodwa likhona iqela elangena ngaphasi komkhosi kaNkosi uMadzikane lo maxesibe lawo usawachola nangoku lapha eMonfrere kunethi gotsi lapha okuthiwa bonjijini netinyetinyengi ethi park fishi uchole ombathane nababethi bongela ombathane bayamfaka nawo uBhaca ngoba waqala ngalondlela ngelala xesha lama 1820s ukuthi amaXesibe nawo abe inxalenye yalesi sizwe kodwa ke amaXesibe kahle kahle ba omakhelwane namaBhaca babakhelene abanye besahleli ngale kulenza obawuZulu obawusike eMsongonyathi lengakemarisburg baphinze bakhelana sebela njengoba kukhona iMonfrere nje sekuthiwa kwaBhaca ngoku kube khona iMantelefu kuthiwe ke emaXesibeni injalo nje ubudlelwane kodwa ngokwemvelaphi no yabo nokolibo hayi abahlangani bahlanganiswa nje isimo esasikhona ngaleso sikhathi sama 1820s manibonga.
Thank you very much, Puti. I just saw that Ubud Zulu has left. I think he's struggling with network. Before we lose everyone, Sis Kolasa, is there something you would like to say in closing, and then I can close after that?
Ngiyabulela sis. I don't have a lot to say. We are grateful to have the platform as the organization, as the people, as the youth, and we would like to thank Wesley Guild for giving us this platform, young people on top of it that are passionate about educating other people about our cultures, traditions, and where we come from. I just want to say thank you. Luckily, I've been all over this country, so I am a little multilingual. So thank you very much to everyone. Yabonga, yabulela, nkensile, ndorebuwa, bayatanki. Kodwa ngiselibhaca, ngipopinza beyatiwa ithi siphela. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Sisi. To our viewers at home, I tried my best to translate as much as I can. It was the first time, even myself, having an encounter with people that speak isiBhaca, and I did try my best. Please don't judge me. And next time I'll be able to read out your questions. I think I was caught off guard. It was my ignorance to assume that I'll be reading things in isiXhosa, and it's upon me to go and read. And to Siskolosa, to Ubud, please do not get tired when we ask you to come and share this information. It's a very important information for our society at large. I have learned so much today, something that I will pass to my children, and hopefully they will pass it to their children, in understanding the diversity even in the tribe that is called AmaXhosa, with its different nations, and trying to understand how did it become even one tribe with all these different nations. Thank you very much for taking your time and joining us today, engaging us on Facebook and here on Zoom. And for me, Isasipinkosi Mdingi, intombi yasemajwarheni, ndiyabulela kakhulu, nibe nobusuku obumnandi.